Hi, I'm Nirmal Jadwani from third year BBA LLB, Christ Deemed University School of Law. Talking about my topic is constitutional morality and judicial justice. So, starting with the definition, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar defined constitutional morality is to be an effective coordination between conflicting interests of different people and the administrative cooperation to resolve the amicably without any confrontation amongst the various groups working for the realization for their ends at any cost. So, constitutional morality as a whole provides a principled understanding of unfolding the work of governance as a whole, which basically means it specifically specifies that the norms of for institutions to survive and an exception of behavior that will meet not just in text but the soul of the constitution. So, and it also makes the governing institutions and representative accountable. So, talking about constitution, how it is written, it is barely a new concept. It has been written and can be read through the constitution through various articles in such as fundamental rights, fundamental duties, directive principles of state policies, and even in the preamble, it speaks about the constitution morality. The Supreme Court also has taken a wide view of the word constitutional morality and also has been taken up while deciding cases. So let us take a few examples, starting with one of the landmark judgment that everyone knows, the Keshwanand Bharti case. So in that, the Supreme Court restricted the powers of the Parliament to violate the basic structure of the Constitution. Also, in the case of Nas Foundation, the Supreme Court opinioned that only constitutional morality and not public morality should prevail. Also, in the case of the Sabrimala, where we all know the issue, the Supreme Court bypassed the doctrine of essentiality to uphold the constitutional morality. Now, talking about the significance as a whole of constitutional morality. Constitutional morality ensures that the ground of the rule of law in the territory while incorporating the society's changing goals and ideas. Constitutionality is a governing concept that emphasizes the importance of preserving uh, people's trust and in a democratic institution. As such an ideal, it enables people to collaborate and continue and coordinate to attain constitutional ambitions that cannot be achieved alone. Constitutional morality also can influence and affect prevailing societal morality laws through laws and forms. Like for example, by I would say the legislating and the abolition of sati, the right to dignity and life was passed on the widows, which was eventually influenced the society's perspective of the practice. Talking about my view and a few criticisms of constitutional morality as a whole is a very essential ingredient, I would say, in the constitution. Also, a very essential ingredient for the Supreme Court while deciding the judges that I spoke in the while talking about the judicial part of it. But constitutional morality as a whole, I would say the concept of constitutional morality has still, I would say, as a criticism. I would just a few concerns that is there. Now, the first thing is that the Supreme Court has not defined the term constitutional morality, which is like leaving to subjective interpretation by various judges and justices. Even the law minister also has criticized the Supreme Court's use of the notion of constitutional morality. So, what he said, I quote, that we hear about constitutional morality and we embrace innovations. He adding uh, nuisance of the constitutional morality should be described with clarity and they should not differ from judge to judge and there must be consensus. As a result, there is no clear agreement on the content and the contours of the idea. Because of this ambiguity and so vagueness, there is a risk that is exposed to the judges of their own views and their biases or maybe their own opinions, to be honest, using the theory without any limitations, just like having any freedom without any reasonable restriction that leads to maybe results in a overreach, a judicial overreach. Anything which is without reasonable restriction or has no limitation will always reach to an overreach, where it is being utilized and be used for on their opinion basis and could be misutilized as such. The principle also violates the separation of powers and establishes a judicial supremacy. And we in India we follow the separation of power where the legislation, executive, and judiciary three all they do not intersect between their each other powers. But this the constitutionality violates this separation of powers, the concept of separation of powers, and basically establish a judicial supremacy over the parliamentary supremacy. This is against the very principle of a democratic government. So, to conclude, I would say constitutional morality is a way of thinking of every responsible citizen and that he should adopt also. Individuals, judiciary, the state must uphold the constitutional morality. The type of society we wish to build is explicitly stated in the Constitution's preamble. It can only be realized through constitutional morality. But the use of constitutional morality should have been should be clearly defined either by the Supreme Court or by the Parliament, and should be restricted to the use. Otherwise it will reach to overreach, and the judicial will have a supremacy over the Parliament and will lead to an intersect, and this will cause a lot of problems and issues in the concept of the very true ingredient that is also imbibed in our constitution, which is constitutional morality. Thank you.